Welcome to another episode of Drones Down Under podcast. My name's Sean. Welcome, Danny.
Howdy.
Ty. Brandon.
Howdy.
How are you,
Hey.
lads?
Very well.
Yeah,
How are you?
good. Splendid.
Thank you. Good, thank you. Very important guest today from Sheffield, Tassie. So I'm going to go through his bio and then we'll introduce him. So Andrew Davies is a young entrepreneur from Sheffield, Tasmania. After living overseas for 4 years and spending 6 years working in the WA mines, Andrew moved back home to be closer to his family. In early 2017, he started Taz Drone Solutions from a granny flat on his parents' farm. Taz Drones are now recognised as an industry leader in Tasmania, completing works that range anywhere from delivering global drone solutions RePL training to spraying weeds in areas deemed too dangerous for humans. Andrew's greatest passion is to inspire, educate, and exhibit what's possible if you're unwavering dedicated to a dream. Welcome, Andrew.
Howdy.
G'day.
Welcome, mate. Great intro.
Really appreciate you taking time. We know you're very busy in Tassie, and I know you've just got back from Perth as well after a couple of weeks, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's good to be here. Yeah, and been a bit busy lately, but never too busy to come onto a podcast with you guys, I guess.
Thank you.
Awesome to
Thank
hear.
you. So I'll start with maybe getting you to share a little bit about your journey, how you actually got to getting Taz Drones going. What made you get there, I guess? How did you start?
Yeah, so I guess as you covered off a little bit in the bio, I grew up in country Tasmania in a little town called Sheffield. My number one goal when I left school was to travel. So I dedicated my whole life to traveling. I lived in Germany, I lived in Estonia, I lived in Scotland. All I wanted to do was travel. And then I wanted to try and figure out a way I could work and keep traveling. So I got to the conclusion, I was like, I'll go and make a lot of money and I'll work in the mines. And then slowly, year by year, my soul got eaten away. And I got to my mid-20s and I'd been to around 50 something countries, and I just decided that I really wanted to be back home, close to my family, back in the community that I grew up in, and do something that I loved, something that I was passionate about, and something that I really enjoyed doing, that I could see was going to have a big impact in the future. So I took my money from working in the mines and went all in, and like you said, came home and started the business in the family granny flat back on the farm that I grew up on, and worked out of a closet without a window in it, with my clothes, a desk at the end of a closet with my clothes draped over my head, staying up till 4 a.m. so I could watch webinars and podcasts and stuff from the US, and just dedicated my whole life to that blind vision. And here we are 4 years later. Like you said, we're doing a lot of different things now, from a lot of things that weren't covered in the bio, but we're custom building drones, we're designing drones, we're just about to launch another commercial product, work for a mining client, so I'll be a bit vague about, but I'll be able to talk about that as we go through. And I guess one of the big things that inspired me too, that really pushed me over the line, was one of my last Euro trips. I met a guy doing a yacht week in Croatia, and he was a cinematographer from Hollywood, and he was about my age. He's the coolest dude, and he had a drone and a little Sony DSLR. And before he came to do the yacht week, he called up the company and said, "Hey, I'm Matt McCarr. Here's my profile. Would you like me to shoot a video for you?" So they paid him $3,000. The yacht cruise was $3,000, and he was the coolest guy on the boat. So it was like, man, I want to be like him. I want to be able to travel and do that and make money. So yeah, I really looked up to him, and that was a big motivator for me. And then I saw Global Drones, another sign. I saw Global Drone Solutions when I got back to working in the mines. And I remember sitting down one day this is like your ultimate classic mine kind of story. We're sitting down, it was like 45 degrees and covered head to toe in mud and dust and shit. And we sat down at lunchtime, and no one's talking to each other, and you're scrolling through your phone, and this guy goes, "Oh, check this out," and showed me it was an ad for getting a drone pilot's license. It's like, I'm gonna get out of this place, and I'm gonna go and get my drone license and make more money than I'm making here. And I'm like, me too. Good idea. Let's do it.
So this is around the 2016 timeframe.
2016, yeah.
Yeah.
That was 2016. Yeah. So, yeah, and actually locked it in. And I sent him a message probably 6 months ago and said, "How you going?" He goes, "Yep, still working in the mines."
No, not recruiting another pilot there.
No. He's got the mine fever. It is pretty hard to get out.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to get out when you build your whole life around having that income.
Yeah.
Or get in at the moment, because if you're not in, you're not getting into WA. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can't get in, can't get out anymore.
yeah.
At least from our states, at least.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, pretty easy for me, for Tasmanians.
Rubbing it in.
Sorry, no, not to rub it. You'll get there one day, mate. Believe in yourself.
One day the state won't though.
Yeah, so that's I guess that's probably what my main things that inspired me.
So
That's
why
quite awesome.
drones though? I mean, with drones, obviously you caught up with Matt, I think, and there must have been something behind there that made you think, okay, this is the future, but just went all in. Is that the Andrew Davies personality, where you just go, well, I got nothing to lose, I'll go give it a go?
I'm a pretty high risk, high reward kind of person. So,
Okay.
yeah, I did. But I guess there was a lot of converging interests and belief that supported that as well, where I grew up watching anime and, sci-fi I'm a huge SpaceX and Tesla fan, and I've watched every SpaceX launch since about 2013, 2014. So technology's been a big, I've never been I was never like the first guy with an iPhone or the first guy with the new Samsung, or really staking that cash to be an early adopter. But I was just a nerd playing video games and watching sci-fi movies and reading the Foundation series. That's one of my favorite books that's being made into a show or being released on Apple Play at the moment. And yeah, just being a nerd, being a bit of a tinkerer, growing up on a dairy farm. We had to solve problems on the farm. My job that I had in the mines, we were kind of way out in the middle of nowhere, and we just had to solve problems without any kind of resources at our disposal other than what we had, in really harsh conditions, doing stupidly long days. So I think, I think all that kind of culminated and pushed me in the direction of doing something with technology.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Very
I
neat.
know you mentioned before about building drones. That part of it really, really interests me. I've met a few people now that build them. So what kind of realm is it mostly in the mines and mine related stuff that you've been building, or stuff outside of that as well?
So I'd never built a drone before. I didn't even know what plugged into what. But one of the early things that that I really dug my teeth into was we had a meeting with Hydro Tasmania. So when the hydro scheme in Tasmania was made, it was one of the biggest hydro schemes in the world. They've got over 30 large dams and a lot of infrastructure. And I met with them, and they heard that there was someone doing drones nearby. I was very early in my journey, and they said, look, one of our biggest hazards, one of our biggest problems that we can identify is weeds growing off the wall and people having to scale the walls to contain them. So even 4 years later, there's still, as far as I know, I reckon there'd be people doing it here and there now. But as far as I know, there's still no real niche product that's been made to be able to spray vertical surfaces, and a drone and a system that's been built to be able to focus and do that. So I'd never built anything, but I was like, here's a problem. I want to do drones forever. I'm going to go all out and have a crack at it. So started filming, partnered with Global Drone Solutions really early, started delivering their training down here, and then all of my revenue that was coming back in we were in the red for like 2 years, and it was like my cash from the mines coming into it. We're in the red, but I was putting everything into getting this weird, wacky project going in the back end. And we were buying bits and bobs from Bunnings, bits of pipe and timber and putting motors on it and old bloody ESCs and fly control, all the cheapest stuff we could get. And we managed to get a trial together, and we got all the head honchos from Hydro, and we fly in this thing that, sorry, the week before we had our first trial, the drone actually flew up like 15 meters into the air and just turned off and landed directly down on the boom that we had. So it had a boom coming straight out the front with a single nozzle on it and an FPV camera behind that boom. But so all this stuff I never really, and I still don't think I'm still not a good tinkerer. I'm still not a good mechatronics kind of guy, but I can put things together and I can bring things together to solve problems. But anyway, so that fell out of the sky, broke to pieces.
A week before,
and then we had to build another one because I couldn't tell them, because it was like, I'm finding like when you're pushing a new novel product or a new niche product or a service or something, they will always want to see you in the hardest environment and the hardest scenario, and they won't give you any leeway. So, and I didn't want to give anything. I don't even know if they're like, I've told this story a few times now. The first time was at the summit with Sean, but I still don't know if any Hydro staff really know that this all happened. But, they just showed up to this trial, and the drone flew, and we squirted a little bit on the wall, and so we managed to build another one within a week to get out there. So it took us about a year to build the first one, and then it took us about a week to build the next one. So deadlines are a really good thing. They're very handy.
Oh, yeah.
keeps the stress levels high.
Keeps your levels high, and then we got it out, proved feasibility. We got a contract from there, and then I ended up buying in DJI. Started making them, so we bought in DJI gear, and now we just 3D print attachments and things to go on existing hardware and modify it to do what we need to do. So that's where. So the building, and that's just grown. Now we've got a workshop set up, and we've got a few custom projects on that all stem from that. But I still don't look at myself like I really am super good at it.
It
So
sounds
we-
like you are, though.
Yeah, it does.
No, got a long way to go. I think it's the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Good motto in life, actually.
It is a good life motto. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Ty?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you still doing custom builds now on some of the drones you've got?
Yep. So the project I mentioned earlier on. So the next big thing that I started working on after systemizing and training up staff to be able to take on board the spraying after a couple of years is we've been building a custom drone to drop heavy payloads onto walls for mine clients. And we're in our second phase of trials with that at the moment, and we'll be commercializing that one pretty soon, I reckon. So cool things that happen when you get to working in big scale with the payloads. So we need to drop a lot of these payloads, and we need to start thinking of like, how do you manufacture? We can do 10, but how do you manufacture like hundreds, if not thousands of these things to drop them on the walls? So it's pretty open knowledge, so I can talk you through it if you're interested in that story.
Yeah, definitely want to hear about it.
Oh, we're
okay.
interested. Mate, come on. Keeping us hanging here. You're like, I'm just trying to beat around the bush. And you're like, just give us the goods. Come on. Hook, line, and sinker. Well done.
He's got a bit of sales in him, right? Just puts the taser out there,
That's
gets you
it.
excited.
Yeah. So pretty much with what can I do to show you? Anyway, I'll describe it. So basically, every mine, open cut pit, they're trying to, the geotechs are collecting data on whether there's any movement in the walls. So one of the methods is putting in a metal stake in the ground and putting a prism, a reflective prism on that stake. And then on the opposing wall, there'll be a shed with a scanner in it that'll be scanning across, and it'll reflect off these pits, these prisms that are sitting on the opposing wall. So we're finding the more we go down this journey, we just solved it by being on site, working on a mine site, and then a geotech coming up and saying, "Hey man, would you be able to like do this, get this thing on a wall?" And we're like, "Yeah, I reckon we could do it." So, we've built a payload to go under the drone, which is a tripod, a metal tripod, and we've got the prism on it, and we're dropping them along the walls where they can't walk on the walls anymore, or they've never been able to get to. So in some cases, they're blasting, pulling out the resource, and they don't have time to go in and put these stakes in, or they've just never done it, never been able to get to it. So it's from industry, it's a really big problem. So this is how they'll monitor and see if there's any movement, and they need a network of these. They need hundreds of them across the wall, and yeah, a lot of them don't. So we've done the first phase of trials, and this a bit of the second, and it's really working well. So
awesome.
really keen to take that one to the next stage.
Are you custom building the drone itself, or are you more customizing the payload side of things and adapting it to like a 300 or a 600 or something like that?
Yeah, I think we just, like every company in Australia, we just got glorified reassemblers. So
yeah.
we're taking a lot of parts from different drones, and we're stripping out stuff. So we've stripped out our original DJI spray drone that we bought, taken all the electronics out of it, and we put a whole new set of electronics, flight controllers and stuff through it. And then we've customized it to be higher. So we through all these iterations. I live on a little farm, 150 acres. So we go out and we just test stuff on the farm. So through testing stuff on the farm, we're bombing these 10-kilo tripods into the sides of hills and doing all these stress payload testing. And we found that, and through testing on site as well, obviously not bombing stuff into walls, but we found that, yeah, we've found a good height and a good dimension that it'll sit and it won't move. So we've kind of extended the legs, built a dropping mechanism under it, extended a platform to put a camera on, so I can turn the camera around and I can see the payload and I can see where I'm flying. And then we've built other stuff around it like RTK, so it can deal with being in a mine, and it's accurate and safe and has redundancies. So yeah, just reassembling and building stuff under it and making sure it's supported when it's flying. That was another cool test. We thought, we'll just hang it underneath, that'll work. And we're flying it around. We're like, holy shit, it's spinning all the way around. We better do something about that. So now we've got supports that kind of clamp in and hold it. Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah. So that's one custom project, and now we're doing them for clients as well. So we've got a water sample drone that we're building. So I guess we're getting in all the components and handing that over, and then teaching them how to fly it and use it. Got a few cool ideas on installing bird diverters. I don't know if you guys have ever been down that path before, but we built a model and we trialed it installing bird diverters on the power lines.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was pretty cool. Yep. Another random big problem.
Yeah.
So we've got some stuff, and we're still modifying our spray drones too. We're learning from being in the field. We're like, okay, we can't actually get up in under that tree. What do we need to do to get up in under that? We need to build an extender. We need to make the lines longer. We need to get a freaking 360 camera on there or something so we can see, so we don't crash into trees. So
yeah.
Yep.
So obviously you do a lot of agriculture stuff in Tassie.
Yeah, it's a big part of the business. It's probably a third of the business at current.
Is it mostly just spraying and that kind of stuff, or is it go more into the cattle realm and things like that as well, or?
Predominantly spraying. Yeah. So my mum's an agronomist, and my dad's a stock agent. So he buys and sells cattle, and I grew up on a dairy farm. So we're pretty entrenched in the ag side of things here in Tassie, but I don't know. It's been a pretty big journey to try and get usable, affordable data through to farmers to be able to use that they don't already know. So, unless you get a really good multispectral sensor and really good back end, like environmental science degree to be able to measure that and hand that over. I'm sure you guys probably know way better than me. I'm not sure, but just found that through the experiments we were doing that it was a bit hard for us to be able to deliver that to them. But so it's mostly spraying. Yeah.
That's a really interesting point you just made, Andrew. We had Isaac Palmer from AVCRM on last week, and he made quite an interesting point that within our industry that's growing at the moment, that there's a big opportunity for people to be able to read and dissect different types of data sets. And I guess that just, you hit the nail on the head is, if you don't have a degree or an understanding of what you're looking at from a data perspective, that data is almost kind of a little bit useless to a lot of people. And I guess it just sort of clicked in my mind again. It's just another space that for me, I don't know anything about that agriculture space, and it's I'm just so detached from it. But there's already overlap from conversations we've had on this podcast from yourself and Isaac, just saying just in the data analysis side of things and understanding how to extract information out of that data is a really key component, and not just being able to fly the drones or collect the data. There's the whole back end side of things that you really got to take into consideration as well to make the offering really, really valuable to your customer, and not just I can fly a multispectral drone and give you a heat map essentially, and you can figure it out for yourself. So that was a really interesting point.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah. I think it's one of the good lessons and good points for people entering the industry is to not focus on the drone itself. It's a tool, and you really need to focus on either the analysis of the data, some niche way of doing a service, or taking humans out of dangerous places. But if you're going to tackle that, like just thinking you can fly and hand data over, even that in itself, you need to know something about the data to be able to hand over data that's usable. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be cool to actually see the statistics on how much dead data there is. I reckon it'd be over half probably of all data collected is dead data.
Yeah, up there.
Yeah.
I know we've got a lot.
Yeah, it's been able to take that data and turn it into something really valuable. Like it's, I think like we had Derek from Trendspec on as well. And, I think they do a really good job at, taking photos, spitting it into or twisting it into a model, and then giving it as a high resolution model for people to inspect off. It's one thing to collect it and understand how to get a high resolution model, but then there's the other back end of how you're going to visualize 10,000 photos in a way that's going to be valuable to you. And there's so many other ways that you can spit and manipulate data to make it valuable for everyone. It might not be a 3D model, it might just be a couple of photos in a report of some sort, but extracting thermal tags out of it. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it's a very important part of, I guess, the industry we're in, and making sure that if you are entering the industry, you understand that it's not just going out and flying a drone. If you're providing the service, it has to be an end-to-end solution of some form, to make sure that your client's getting the best bang for their buck and exactly what they're looking for out of that data, whether it's wind turbine inspections or agriculture. You really want to make sure that they're going to continue working with you, for one, I think, based off your service, and then the deliverables.
Yeah, I think building one of my main philosophies is really building a good connection and trust with people as well. So a whole nother realm of, if you focus on the technology, you focus on the service, you want to do the best, highest thing you can do, but then I think people will still give you a crack, and they'll still keep using you if you're a good person, if you just have good values and you stick true to what you say, stick to your word, and do what you say you're going to do. And I think it probably meets in the middle. You know, you look at that old analogy with engineers. You know, like so many millions or thousands of products where they're still tinkering away, waiting for the perfect product to be made. And you know, they should have released it 5 years ago and just iterated with it in the market and put themselves out there. So
for sure.
But yeah, not focusing on the drone itself will be definitely a good way to crack on into the industry, I think.
Yeah. So what's been one of the? Oh, sorry, Sean, you go.
No, go for it. Go.
I was just gonna ask, what's been one of the most sort of challenging things you've faced with sort of this innovation space of, you know, clients coming to you with an idea, and then you going from idea to proof of concept maybe, and then going from proof of concept to a commercialized product. What are the real major hurdles that you're finding that are maybe recurring for you? But yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of different elements that come into that. So I guess on the business side of things, building teams, managing people, managing cash flow. So all those things, learning sales, learning marketing. When you're, you know, originally I thought, like, if I can make this thing, that's it. Like that's it. And then I'm like, wait, it takes us just as long to develop the SOPs and the methodology and the systemology and all the supporting, and then getting the clients to approve all that to go to site. Like I completely brushed over this, but with the spray drone stuff, there was no existing permit for applying chemicals from a drone in existence. So I joined the ACUO, and they made a board on developing drone spraying in Australia, and the AAUS. And I used to call up, I had it in my calendar every week on a Monday for nearly 2 years, I think it was. I was calling the Department of Primary Industries, and they just got sick of me. And I would be like, why can't we develop something to do a trial around using drones instead of people scaling walls and putting themselves at risk, breathing in chemicals, you know, all the dangerous stuff that comes with it, and even the environmental impact that comes with it. Like they cut tracks in to the tops of a hill. Oh. They'll cut a track in with like a chainsaw or something, and then they'll abseil down from the top of the hill. So, so this.
Andrew, what's the ACUO?
The ACUO is like the AAUS. They're like a drone union, a drone group organization, and you sign up as a member, and they will give you drone information and support you. And there's other perks that come with like joining the AAUS. Good guys. We're a member of both. We're a member of the AAUS and the ACUO. So that, you know, like I was like, all I have to do is dedicate my entire life to building a thing to do and I simplify everything. I was like, we just got to squirt some juice on the freaking wall. And we built the thing to squirt the juice on the wall. And it's like, I took as probably more, that was probably only a third of the whole puzzle, if that. So you'd think inventing and building something that no one else has ever done before would be the pivotal thing, but that was it. And building the relationships and the trust in the client, and then not falling through with that, and managing cash flow. I know I said it already, but just keeping your head above water. Like I just you feel like the whole world is compressing in on you, and it's hard to get people to believe in your vision and your mission and what you really want to do when you're starting out too. Like people are like, oh yeah, you good on you. You know, you're doing well. You're having a crack, and they walk off and sip the coffee, and they're like,
good luck.
Drones.
Stalker.
So you did say, you know, 2 years in the red, obviously. So it's the first couple of years. What kept you going? And clearly, when you're there innovating solutions, given there's no real solution out there, you got to create your own. So clearly more cash out of your pocket probably doesn't help getting to black. What's the driving force for you? Because I figure you didn't have a lot of support back then either. They're probably a very small industry, certainly being in Tassie as well. What was can you share some of your thinking back then, and who was was sort of guiding you through this stuff, if you had anyone?
So I've got a few good. So I love my dad, and my dad really loves me, and all he ever wanted to do was help me. But he always wanted to help me within his realm of what made sense to him. So every day, or like every week, because I was out in the shed on the family farm as an adult as well, he'd come home and be like, "Oh, I've found a job for you, operating excavators. You know, I can get you a real job if you want to go out and make some money." And I was like, "No, this is my destiny. You know, this is what I'm doing." And everyone around me wanted to help me by helping me do a job, you know, but I didn't. That's not what I wanted to do. So a big inspiration for me that really drove me through and has supported me all the way and showed me the light of what you can achieve is my older brother. So he's got a construction company, and he just launched an architectural company, and they just won residential. He just won Residential Builder of the Year last week. Best house over $1 million, best all. They're just doing great stuff. You know, they're just really good people and doing. And
let's not plug him too much. We'll get him as a sponsor next year, mate. So.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, get him on. That'll be the way. But the more we plug him, the more likely he'll be to do it. So.
True. Keep going.
Yeah. But you know, he's just a really, really smart, good person. And I remember another thing, like being in the mines, you know, looking at him, even when I was traveling, like looking at what he was doing and what he was building, I was like, man, that's really cool. And it's just very wholesome and doing what he loved. I remember it's like when I was 4 or 5 and he was 8, and he said, "I want to be a builder and I want to help people with that." And now he's 35 and he's doing it. So, and he's always been there for business advice, for like a support through different hurdles. You know, he's really black and white. I'll come in and be like, the world's ending. I'm never going to be able to do this. And he goes, "Why not?" And we're like, fair call.
Yeah.
Fair call. So
solid advice.
Solid advice, you know, so having that mentor, Mahmood from Global Drone Solutions, he supported me right from the beginning. I flew over to WA to do my drone license. So he was kind of pretty blown away that he'd made a business, and he'd only been training for like a year, and someone had flown from the other side of the country to do the training there, because there was nowhere to do it in Tassie at the time. So having good mentors, Luke, even my family, my parents, my nan, who you probably met at the drone summit.
Yep.
She's a hero of mine. So, you know, I'll go to Nan and I'll give her all these like technical things, and she'll be like, "Have you tried that?" She's done it like at every stage, like even building drones. "Have you tried that?" I'm like, "You know what? That might actually work. Good one, man." So, and she was a dairy farmer her whole life, and she's still giving good support and advice. And she's at every event, and it's the whole family's at every event. So yeah, I was trying to help me within their realm of help and what they knew at the time. But yeah, having them there, they did believe in me. I think they believed in me to move to Germany when I was 18, and I couldn't even cook anything or pay rent, or had no skills. So they've always been there for me.
That's great.
Awesome. Is there a bit of an element of not wanting to go back to what you were doing before the drone stuff that sort of motivated you to? It's like more of it's not the life you wanted to live, as a motivation as well. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, it was just never. Got good friends that I'm still in touch with from the industry, and I learned a lot. I had to work really ridiculously hard, and push out big swings. Like I did a 7-week swing once. I had 2 days off doing 12-hour days in 7 weeks. So I learned a lot of good lessons from it. But that was definitely a huge motivator for me. It crushed my soul. When I started working up there, I had hair down to my bum. I went in wearing some Tui's extra dry green sunnies and a flower shirt. And there's all these like 60 guys all with big beards and worn from decades in the mines.
Sounds like you're describing Ty.
Yeah. Nothing like you, Ty. Nothing like you.
Except I'm not worn from years of the mines. I'm just worn from years of carrying a camera around. So
yeah, so that definitely a motivator looking back, and then not giving yourself any exit, any other option. I think you have to. It's what's that? It's like if you only dedicate yourself 99% to something, it's way harder than just going 100%, because you always have that niggling something in the back of your mind being like, oh, maybe we should try that. You know, I just gave myself no outs, no
backup plan.
No backup plan, which I probably wouldn't have. I don't advise when I'm giving business advice. You know, if guys are saying, I'm going to stay in my full-time job and I'm going to use that revenue to start the business, I'm like, oh, well, that's a good idea. I reckon it'd be less stressful. But I think there's a lot you can gain when you can put 100% your entire fiber into something.
And the belief, I guess, in yourself to go get on and do it.
Yeah, you can't doubt yourself. You'll give up at some point. You'll give up. The world, like I said, it's compressing down on you at every given point. Like I thought I had a heap of money when I started as well, and it went like that. Buy a couple of drones and subscribe to a bit of software and pay insurance for a few months, and man, it goes quick. And
you keep buying big bloody drones, mate. That's why. Buy the little ones, like the minis or something.
That's a good trick. I'll start doing that, and we'll put a little mini tank under it and a little mini boom, and
Where is it? I'll get one like that one.
There we go. That's what we need. Yeah,
better get them.
Yeah, nice. That'll do the job, and we'll go. We'll get them right as they start growing, little saplings.
Yeah.
one by one.
So what's your you're obviously quite a unique as far as your innovation's concerned, and you're constantly looking for that, I guess, that point of difference that you can customize. What's your advice to someone starting out in the industry? You've talked about, you know, looking at the analysis, finding a niche, taking, you know, risking, reducing human loss or life, I guess. But specifically around use cases, like if 2020, back end of 2021, you've had, you know, 4 or 5 years in the industry. What are your thoughts around where the next sort of 12 months, where would you focus if you're just starting out?
I would find what key skills you have already existing and how you can leverage those. If you're only looking on a 12-month, my first bit of advice would be extend your time horizon as far as possible, because then that's another way of weathering the storm. You know, if you're looking 10, 20 years into the future, then these day-to-day things that knock you down just feel like, well, they're hard to get through, I'll be honest, but you know, they feel a lot less impactful if you've got a big 10-year vision. If you're really looking to like, man, are we going to be like, there's that Jetson company that just have got that flying car, you know, like you look at the Jetsons becoming real. Me too.
He didn't fly very high though.
Oh man, if you gave me that thing, I'm going full throttle. I don't give a crap.
but is it there yet? It was only about 3. Well, he was maybe a couple of meters above ground.
Oh, it was about 3-4 meters. I'm like, that's high enough.
Enough to start.
All I saw was a desert, and I'm like, you're passing along. You have nothing in front of you. I would just be like, what? Where do we go? Full throttle. Let's go.
I hear they're sponsoring an episode soon, aren't they?
I hope so.
That'd be
I'll
a
be
good
a test dummy.
That's a good goal. That's a good goal to set, guys. That's a really good goal to set. Yeah, so I'd look at a longest time horizon as possible. Look at all these cool things. You know, look at what inspires you and what really resonates with who you are as a person and where you'd like to see yourself in 10 years. You know, who do you see yourself at, and how do you start working in that path? And in the next 12 months, man, things are changing so fast.
Would you specialize? Like, would you get into ag? Would you get into asset inspections, or do you keep your options broader? You know, what's your view?
I'd learn. If you're starting out very fresh, I'd broad. I would learn as much as possible, as fast as possible. Take in as much knowledge as you can, ask as many questions as you can, and build that good mentor group around yourself, and use whatever you, like I could say, focus on, like ag itself has like hundreds and hundreds of different applications, from thermal imaging to multispectral to crop spraying. Even the crop spraying side of things, I'm seeing companies that are niching into niches. So there's companies that are doing like internal greenhouse spraying and spraying the outside of a greenhouse, because you've got to put a layer of stuff across it so the greenhouse doesn't get too hot through the summer where they're normally walking on the roof. So there's companies that are just focusing on specializing. We just do this. And then if they've got spare time, they'll go out and do other things. So there's niches in niches in niches, and the industry is growing so fast that, yeah, learning as much as possible, using the skills that you have, and then honing in on that. So it's probably bad. It's generally bad business advice to tell people to go broad. You know, really good businesses focus on a really good single thing and focus on that, and then the other things will fall in behind it, all the things you have to learn. But I think going broad would be good advice. If you're just getting your RePL and you're just starting from nothing, then you've got a plethora of different things you can start out doing, from inspection work. We advise not doing the data capture and handover without the knowledge, but it's there. There's businesses set up that are collecting data like that. There's air assess. There's, I guess, the other data.
You can mention them. It's fine.
Yeah. You know, there's Measure Australia. There's the Trendspec guys. There's Scanned. You know, there's all these companies that are processing the data now, and there's other companies that have been built up under them to collect the data. So you can always sign up to one of them guys, and I'll pay you a per job rate, and you can go out and do it. And the learning curve's still quite low for that. They've got all the inductions and everything to get you on board to go out and do it. So you could sign up to that. You could go to like a Sean or a Ty or to a Brendan or a Denny and ask, like, what can we do to get into the industry and learn and have a crack from people that are already doing it.
You could get Danny. You probably won't get to his too big a social media profile. He wouldn't.
Doesn't let randoms private message him or anything. He's too big wig.
I'll apply to everybody.
He charges us for a 30-second phone call, Andrew.
Oh, great. No, that's only you, man.
Knew I was getting stooged.
I thought it was a deal for everybody.
Flat rate only. That's it.
Flat rate only. Yeah.
That's true. It's, you know, branch out network. It's one of the biggest, best ways to learn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure we've all been there. You know, when you start out, talk to everyone you possibly can. And it'll also help you find your niche market, or your niche within the other three niches.
Yeah.
Go to the summits, go to all the events you can, listen to all the podcasts you can, you know, find
especially
who
this one.
Yeah, especially this one. You know, find who you look up to as well. You know, like don't just go and find people that you think are doing a really good job. Find people that don't get short and then look up to people. You know, I think finding people that you really do intrinsically respect and look up to that are good people are better than just finding somebody that's making a lot of money and are perceived as a really good, an expert or something like that. Because you'll end up like them. You probably won't like who you are when you get to the end of that tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the big things that why we created this podcast, and what we're trying to do is create that, I guess, transparency within the industry, and then also talk about how important it is to just use one another within the industry, because I don't think anyone's big enough to be able to take on everything within Australia. And sure, people might give it a crack, but, you know, everyone I know now, there is no way you can service all of Australia. Everyone's using everybody. Everybody knows everybody. So it's no secret what people are doing. So you may as well just be part of the circle, be part of the conversations and everything that's going on, instead of trying to just do it on your own and build it yourself, because either it'll backfire on you potentially, and everyone that's adopting what we're trying to build, it will sort of not turn on you, but you're not part of the part of what everyone else is adopting. And you'd rather be in it than excluding it. And I think that's the best part. The network is the best because you get to speak to people like us, and speak to people like yourself. And, you know, it's a really cool thing that I'm so glad we started this, because, you know, I've had this idea. I've wanted to do a podcast for ages, and I just haven't met the right people. And it's only been probably in the last 6 months that everything's fallen into place. But, you know, it's 2 years of wanting to do a podcast to get to a 6-month stint, and we're now 8 episodes in, and it's freaking awesome. So it's great.
Yeah.
So we're your right guys then, Brendan?
I think so, Ty. Look, I'm questionable about yourself, but look,
Isaac's coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, I've lost my job.
Yeah.
The unpaid job.
The unpaid job. Yeah, that's right.
Don't hold your cards to your chest unless you don't know any other way to live your life. But, you know, as I say it a lot, I was like, well, as soon as you're not enjoying it, and as soon as you're doing anything that goes against doing the right thing and being true to yourself, then what's the point? What's the point in being in business? What's the point in doing anything? Like
100%.
So share your knowledge, share with people, meet people, and do stuff like this.
No,
There will always be, like, I think a lot of people sort of, like you said, you don't want to hold your cards too close to your chest all the time. Sure, there's some things that you really want to be niche in, and you don't want to give all away your trade secrets, but you got to be a little bit transparent as well. And if someone does ask you something, just say, sorry, I can't tell you that. That took me 3 years to develop that, and that's us. That's what we niche into. And that's fine to say, but if you're not even just explaining how to do a basic 3D model or how to set up a mapping mission, you know, all those things, someone's going to figure out at some point. So just help them. You don't have to tell them every nitty gritty detail around what you do. It's, you know, you were there. I think everyone forgets that you were at that point at some stage.
Exactly.
And it's either you watched a YouTube video or whatever. So you may as well be that person to help someone else. And I've always thought being nice is always ROI positive. Like it's never a good thing to be not nice. So
I think we're in a bit of a cultural tipping point too, in where you normally look at big business as bad people. You know, the suit and tie, they've stepped on 100 people to get to where they need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the big companies now, and look at the big companies that are really going to change the planet over the next 20, 30 years. You know, they're all got sustainable practices. They're all trying to open source and share as much as they can, and they're gonna be the next trillionaires. The next companies that change the world are going to be renewable energy companies and EV companies. You know, Tesla just ticked over $1 trillion company today. I did a bit of math when I woke up this morning. They're 1/20th of the US GDP, one company. Wow. And a year and a half ago, they were valued at 70 billion. So so in a year and a half, they've gone from 70 to over $1 trillion. Australia's GDP is 1.4 trillion. So if Tesla keep growing like this, they'll be a bigger economic powerhouse than what our country will be. And they open source all their patents. They open source. They shared everything all the way through. And Elon's always sharing information. Same with SpaceX. Look at they're colonizing. They want to colonize Mars, and they've got people there filming it all day, every day. It's never happened before. I don't even know what Jeff Bezos is doing. They only show when he's there cracking a bottle of champagne with Captain Kirk when he's coming out of the bloody capsule. So I think we're in a conscious shift, and I think that mentality between being a bad person to make it and being a shit leader and being bad to people that are in teams with you it's dead. And people that still live like that, they're going to be the ones that they'll still, you know, they're still making revenue. They're probably still in business and they won't ever watch this podcast, and they'll never watch any or learn anything that'll read a book or anything that'll help them not get past that point, but they'll fizz out because they're not helping make people's lives better and being good about it.
That's great.
Spot on.
It's 100% true.
So how many are in the team at the moment for you guys, Andrew?
So there's 3 of us full time, including myself. There's 3 casual and 2 contractors.
Yep.
So what does that make us? 6, 8?
8.
8. Yep. And I was by myself before COVID last year. So yeah, it's all come from.
Awesome.
There's a point you get to. I saw it with my brother, and that's how I felt like doing it as well. Is you never feel like you have the revenue to take a risk to get somebody to help you. You never feel like you're there, but you having that big 10-year vision or longer vision. It's like, well, it's not a matter of if, it's when. So when do you get to that point? And it's like the same analogy of releasing a product. Do you wait until it's perfect and polished? Do you save up $100,000 and then you hire a $100,000 staff member? No, you just do it. And if you get the right people, then they start generating revenue to cover themselves. So I took that first step coming out of COVID last year, and it's changed my whole life. It's been the best thing. So now we've got a really cool culture, and running that event that we had in May.
Yeah, great team as well.
All these things. Yeah, we're all good, just good people. We had a bit of an incident today where I'm super proud of Jeremy. He's been with me for about 4 or 5 months. He flew down from Brisbane. He's a commercial pilot, airline pilot, lost his job through COVID and saw drones as the future, as a lot of people in manned aviation I'm finding are seeing. And he came down, he's moved to the country town. He had a little baby and everything. So it's very heartwarming. But he was out on a job today, and there was a man who has gone missing off the coast near Wynyard, and he had a job not far from there. And they came up and were very upset about drones flying and around the area. And he handled it. He handled it really well, and super proud that getting good people and creating a good culture where they know that they can handle stuff like that and know that they're going to be backed up is a really big part, because it's part and parcel, especially for you guys flying in around lots of people. We don't do it very often, but
that's a whole nother podcast, which I'm sure you'll be part of at some point in the future. So,
well, I try and focus all my work down the West Coast where there's barely any people. So
You're so lucky.
So some of the most appalling places in the world, forests and rivers and mountains, and
terrible.
Absolutely horrible. Yeah,
Horrible.
disgusting.
Don't know why you want to go there. That's amazing.
Don't go. Secrets out. Bit of talk of it.
You obviously got a great growth in the team and great bunch of guys. What's a typical day for you? Is it a 5-day week, 7-day week? What's the hours? Is it consistent? Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so we're doing, the full-time guys are on around 38 to 40 hours a week. The casual and contractors are doing around probably 20 for the casuals, and the contractors probably around 10-ish. So the contractors are coming and just working on projects and doing their specialty in certain projects. So we've got a trainer in the north and a trainer in the south, and we're doing the drone training in the north, and we're splitting them up every fortnight. So we've got one up here, one down there. So they just come in and they deliver the training, and they do all the follow-up and all the stuff around that, and just charge whatever hours they're spending on that project. A day, our days are crazy, man. It was like, so Jeremy's, he's done everything from the guy I just mentioned, who hasn't been with me for long. He's done everything from delivering Zoom RePL training, because he's a commercial pilot, to doing drop drone feasibility works with us. So he's been out onto a mine site, so he's had to do all the inductions, spraying. So he's been spraying all around the state. All the spray works is all over the place. And then we're doing mapping and photogrammetry work too. So the guys will be out collecting data here and there in forestry or assets or something like that. So it's for me, it's being here and trying to manage all the leads and everything that's coming in and giving the guys the tools and things they need to go out and do stuff. But it's pretty, it's so we've done the whole diversify, learn as much as possible, and we have a really broad business model, which I wouldn't recommend. Maybe I would. I don't know. It's working for us, but it's pretty cool. I like it. I really like that. If we can do a training course, like 1 week, I know I was dropping things, I was spraying things, I was training, and then doing some management, and then do something else. So yeah, it's pretty broad. Oh, and we sell drones too. So just to add, so we're not a retail store, but we're solving that holistic problem for people that are coming through our courses, or for our clients that need the hardware and the software. We'll help them set everything up too.
Yep.
It's very full on. There's a lot.
It's full on, man. Yeah, it is. It's full on, and you got to do what you say you're going to do, right? So the more you spread yourself, I guess the lower that quality would get in each one of those different facets and different things that we're doing. So you've got to really put in a lot of work. So actual hours, I probably do like 10, 12 hours every day. I haven't had a day off in probably like a month. The guys will normally get behind and do extra hours where they can, the full-time guys, because they believe in the vision in what we're doing. So yeah,
I think that's really exciting to hear that. Obviously what you're building down there, people are believing in and are willing to be around. And I think that's really cool. It's probably a credit to yourself as well, of what you are building, how long it's taking you to get there. And then now you've got people coming in, they're adopting exactly what you've been building over the last couple of years. And I think that's credit to you, because I know, like, just being in my situation, I know how hard it is to get to where you are. Like, I'm not where you're at, but I can understand the process that you've gone through to get there. And I think, anyone that starts a business wants to get to that point. But I think it speaks credits to you, mate. It's really, really cool. It's exciting to hear that there's a team of people behind you now that are living and breathing exactly what you've been building over the last couple of years. Thanks,
man. Yeah, and it frees up. What's the real ultimate goal that it would all like to set for your life? And I think freedom. Like, it doesn't matter what you want to do, be healthier or happier or whatever. Like, I think freedom's a really big one. And I think the more you can build a culture and a team, then everyone can achieve that freedom from supporting each other. So now, it used to take me a week to prep to do a drone course, and it used to take me like a week to prep to go out and spray, and it used to take me all this time to do things. And now I can focus all my energy into bringing out this next product, trialing the drone through the day and knowing that the ship's still moving forward. So yeah, it's still getting there, but I still don't feel like in any way or form that you're there, and I don't think you'll ever feel like you're there. I guess it's all relative. Hey, if I could look at myself now from when I started to where we are, I'd be like, holy shit, what the hell, man? But now I'm in it. I'm like, geez, we got to make payroll. We've got to have enough money to. Jeremy's got a baby, and Jorge, he's a guy who started with me first last year. He's from Colombia, and we're sponsoring him now. So
cool.
Giving him his citizenship. That's the craziest thing for me. Like, of all this stuff we've talked about, the fact that I could be a guy tinkering around in a shed like 4 years ago, to the point where I can actually help somebody get their citizenship. Like, they're the real things that really touch me. Those connections.
Life-changing.
That's life-changing stuff. Yeah. So making drones is cool, and that's what we're doing. But man, giving somebody a life like that.
What's fantastic about your story is, we've gone through COVID. You've had exponential growth, and I agree with Brennan. It's because of you. It's clear, and yet you see people talk about how hard it is to get a job in the industry, or the excuses. But it's, like you said, get your RePL now. Let's go fly a drone, and that's the very thing that we talk about. You got to go, and everything you've just articulated, obviously, around build relationships, go and work with others, get to know the industry, and you're living proof that it does work if you put in the work and find the right people. So if you don't watch this and learn how that's happened, I think it's sad. You're probably going to be 12 months behind even before you find out where you're supposed to be, right? So
yeah, I mean, like what you achieved in normal pre-COVID world is outstanding anyway. But to wrap that up, to be doing it in a pandemic, I mean, there's a lot of businesses that have experienced exponential growth over this period, but to where you started at the point of this to where you are now, that's huge. And it definitely shows you that it can be done. It just requires a bit of hard effort and getting in there and doing it and focus, and you'll get there.
Yeah, having an abundance mindset and not a scarcity mindset will really set you up for, going through COVID and thinking, shit, everyone's sick and dying, and you got to acknowledge the bad things. You can't just turn a blind eye. But then looking at that and thinking, wow, like there's all these pilots that are out of the job. There's all these engineers that are out of the job. What, they might want a job. So, we're not doing very well at the moment, like everyone else, but man, look at all the talent and all the people that are going to be looking for work. Look at all the companies that can't fly to Tasmania at the moment because they're stuck in COVID.
Yeah.
Look at all of the products. People can't buy products at the moment because China's put a constraint on them. So if you've got good products and you're already doing services, then you can keep increasing and perfecting it. No one else can get any products to compete. So yeah, you can look at, it's the sunglasses or the shade that you view the world in that'll really,
definitely much so.
Yeah.
You obviously touched on good people and so forth as part of your team. What are some of the skills or personalities that you look for, Andrew? I mean, you obviously talked about pilots and engineers that are out of work, but there's obviously more than that they're looking within.
Yeah, so I was to hire Jeremy. I was recruiting from January through to March or something, months interviewing people. That's recruit. Yeah, that's another thing. If you get to the point where your business is to the point where you want to recruit and get good people, get ready for a whole world of something you've never prepared for, because it takes a long time. You gotta run through all the questions, and you gotta compile that, and then you gotta go through heaps of stuff. Anyway, long story short, every person that I interviewed, I was looking at a minimum for some flight time, but even that I was willing to turn the blind eye to if they're intrinsically a good person and they just wanted to do something and make a change, and they wanted to grow with the industry and with the company. So those are the questions I was asking. Everything from, do you like hiking? Do you like reading books? What movies do you watch? Who are you as a person, and are you a good person, and are you going to enjoy being here? Because it's not easy. It's like everything. We're a startup. I still think of us as a startup. So, but if you're looking at trying to get some credentials and things, and having logged flight hours, super handy on more than one drone. Logging as many hours on different drones and taking and compiling that data, getting your licenses. So people that really stood out for me were people that had already done their 725 kg. They got their RePL, they got their 725 kg. I could see they'd gone to that next step. They'd invested a little bit more. And even guys that were developing their own reocs. I had people that were inquiring that had started working on their reocs. I'm like, yeah, shit, it's awesome. They're already learning about the compliance and the safety and maintenance and all that sort of stuff. And if you've got a bit of a technical background, if you I got every person that I was interviewing to go and put together, if you can't build it, put together like a design or something on how you'd build me a race drone. And everyone went and did some homework before I did the second layer of interviews. So having a bit of technical, you don't have to be like, you could come in at complete zero. If you're willing to learn these things, then that's the biggest thing, I think. A bit of technical knowledge, some flight knowledge, even people that were gaming, that stood out to me. I was like, you've been going. That's how I feel like that's how I picked up the sticks and picked up everything so fast, spatial awareness and, if you've been gaming in the past, you can, when I go and when we do like presentations at schools and stuff, I get I'm like completely straight faced. I'm like, okay, all the kids that like playing video games, put your hand up. And everyone's like, yeah, they'll put it, jumping around. And it's like, well, you can go home and you can tell mum and dad that playing video games is actually productive because we're basically playing a video game in real life, and it's only going to get more.
There is no better training for hand-eye coordination with a drone than playing first-person shooters on a console. Like,
agreed.
Straight up.
Agreed. Yep.
Next one, download a simulator for a racing drone.
Download a simulator. Yeah, I was getting to do that as well. Get some sim hours up if you've got no hours, and then show me how you fly in a sim, and then I can generally gauge if you're going to be able to get it. I can see because we've trained 300 to 350 or 400, I don't know, 400 people-ish in Tasmania with our RePLs. So I can see straight away. And you can see it with gamers, like you've either got it or you don't, but if you've got the will, you can get there with the hours, but yeah, gaming definitely helps. Sorry, mums and dads.
Every gamer listening to this podcast is going to buy a drone now, 100%.
Why wouldn't you? That's like, if you're a gamer, it's like gaming in RL.
See, this is how I
these graphics are amazing.
Justify video game time during the week. In the afternoons with my wife, she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just practicing, babe.
Just get him a currency."
log hours.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue into like skills for the future and how you can future-proof yourself. It'll be the people that are like, you look at automating trains and trucks and automating a lot of those people that had those existing skills are now the people that are working in the offices, monitoring them and perfecting them. So once the metaverse comes online, I don't know if you guys have seen Facebook are rebranding and they're launching, because predominantly a lot of their energy is going into making this metaverse. So when the metaverse launches and augmented reality layers is over the whole planet, then if you've got these skills already now and you've got good hours and you've got good real world experience, then who's going to be a standout when these augmented digital realms become commonplace? Like what's it called, Magic Realm or Magic something? Their company visions to put a full digital layer over the whole planet, so everything you see will have an augmented bit of data. So I digressed a little bit there, but it's still relevant for people getting into the industry.
Absolutely.
Because it's moving. I mean, it's a valid point because everything moves so quickly. You got to be in touch and at least be aware of it. I think. And like you said, having things like us getting together and talking about different topics, you learn about something you may not know, and then it's up to you whether you want to go and research that or not. So.
And you've got all the tools at your disposal. You can get all the world's information at light speed in your hand.
Yeah.
So,
or reach out to us, like send us an email, send us a message on LinkedIn. Like that's the whole point of this, is to start reaching out, start getting conversations going, and you never know where it leads to. So that's exciting. It's exciting that we're all in this space, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for augmented reality and that sort of world, because it's just going to completely change how we view everything. And I think it'll benefit us in the drone space a fair bit, and the ways and ideas that you can sort of project exclusion zones and things like that. Physical signs might be a thing of the past. We might be able to drop a pin somewhere and put signs up, or put a virtual red wall around our exclusion zone that people see in augmented reality.
And people still won't listen to those signs.
And people still won't listen. But
you'll still have the old guy that comes and walks through the red wall and goes, I've got a drone. Do you want me to show you what I do with my drone?
Yeah.
Always 1 or 10.
Well, I don't want to digress off that topic too much. That's a really good one to stick on. But we were spraying Gordon Dam. It's the biggest dam in the hydro scheme, 140 metre high wall. And we had the whole thing blocked off. We had signs, like LED signs 100 kilometres down the road. We had hard barricading. We had a whole thing. And every day, so it was Jorge and I. Jorge's got a really thick Colombian Spanish accent. I was flying down out of sight, and Jorge was kind of ground control and mixing chemicals and getting everything ready. We had 2-way radios on. So I was down on the wall and I was communicating, saying like, Jorge, is it all clear to come and land? And he'll be like, yeah, okay. So one of the flights we were doing, there was this big group of bikers that came, like big, like huge dudes. And one of the guys just ripped the barricading apart, pulled the things open, come down, stormed down. He's like, I effing came here from the mainland to see all the way to see this wall. I'm going to see the wall, and you can see it, like where he was arguing, going off at him. And he's like, okay, mate, we're doing drone work here, and you can't come in. He's like, no, I'm going to look at the wall. And then I called up on the radio, and I'm like, Jorge, all clear to land. And he's like, yep, all clear to land, mate, all good. And then I come up over the hill, up over the brow. He didn't know, he couldn't see the drone, and it's a huge drone. Yeah. And it come up over, was like, up over this building, and he's like, holy shit, massive drone. Oh, that's awesome. All right, no worries, mate. Have a good day. Went back out, put the barricade in back down and left.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You do have
a certain dominance.
No one really cares about barricading.
No, not at all.
That's why we use spotters.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
So you got some slides I think you're going to talk through.
Yeah, let's go through some slides. Yep, let's do it.
And I don't know if you've got one of the walls, but I'm sure the audience and the guys would probably like to see.
Yeah. Yep. So here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. So this wall here, this is Reese Dam. This was the largest rock fuel wall built in the world when it was built. And from the day it was built until we came in, it took them weeks to manage all of the weeds all along the whole wall. They had a near miss on this wall where they were abseiling down and a rock slipped off, and a guy below almost got hit by a rock. When we were,
sorry, Andrew, how tall was this wall?
It's 100 about 100 meters, this one.
Right.
Yeah, so it's pretty big. It's hard to get the scale from this photo.
Yeah.
But I remember I'll never forget when we were actually like quoting it up and going to say how we're going to come and do it. And they're like, what? You don't need a road closure crew. You don't need any like high risk permits. You don't need accommodation for like 8 guys staying in the middle of nowhere. Like it's about an hour and a half to the nearest town from here. So it's like probably 3 weeks worth of inductions and permits and all that stuff. And I like literally, I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yep.
But down here, I set up a little corner, put my barricading up, and I did that entire wall in 2 days from top to bottom. And then I did this whole section over here in 2 days as well, 1 day on either side. No high risk permits, no nothing, no anything. And they're just like brains melted in the feasibility when we're quoting it up. So that's Reese Dam. That's a really cool project. Really proud of that one. Now we're going back and we're implementing with everyone that we're working with ongoing management. So we're not just going in and doing that. We're like, okay, we can do this now. It'll take a week to do it, but if you stay on top of it, we'll come in. It'll be a day every year or something like that. So it's ongoing. There's no point just spraying something, because look at the landscape. It's like it'll just grow back within like 2 years. So
how do you just on that? I know when you first talked about it, I was very curious about, you're spraying hill weeds right next to a dam full of water that people are obviously consuming. Can you talk us through how do you know what sort of spray to use and so forth?
So I'll skip down a few. I'll skip to is your screen, like your webcam's coming up, or can you just see the actual presentation?
No, we can see everyone.
Okay, cool. Because I've got you guys like in the middle of my screen, so it's blocking up a bit of the presentation.
That's we're the most important thing, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to keep those pretty faces on.
Exactly.
You should be able to pick us up and move us to the side.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I've got another screen here I can use. Cool. So you might swap. There we go. Cool. So the general process for the weed spraying works is client inquires. We'll go out and we'll survey the land. So we'll create that's why my joke about having a lot of dead data. So every new spray job we have, we'll go out, we'll map it, and then we'll annotate and mark where the weeds are that we're spraying. So we've gone from just broad, just doing everything by eye to now we can count and we can quote like, okay, we need this much chemical. It's going to take this long, doing more accurate quotes, which is saving the client more money at the end of the day as well. And then we're also going in afterwards and we're flying it again and we're creating another 3D model. And then we're showing them what we've done and overlaying that. So anyway, I'll keep it. Don't want to put everyone to sleep, but so we're doing that. And then I'm sending through that data in the cloud with a URL to my mum, who's an agronomist. And then she'll zoom in, look at the weeds, and then she'll recommend what chemicals to use for that area for that time of year, when to spray, all that sort of stuff. So, and then she can go in and write on each annotation in that data. So here's a bit of land we did. We went to spray this and we found that there was a massive landslip in this data set. So you can see here, so that's the total area. That's the landslip that we found. And that's a rail line up there. So the actual land is slipping all the way below that rail line. And this is one of the major ports in Tasmania too. So went to spray pampas, identified all the pampas. Wow. So you can flick through them like that. And we also found that. So now we've got a contract going out every quarter, mapping this to measure the change in the slip and also spray. So we'll go out, we'll spray, and then we'll map. So there's all these complementary services you can link on.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
which they would never have known had you not mapped that site. So
no, like they could probably see a little bit from the ground, like how it's coming over the fence here. But it's like until you get a good aerial model like this and a map where you can actually measure it and annotate it, then it blew them away. It felt really cool actually. I like it when there are people blown away by something. Any more questions on any of that?
No.
I guess out of curiosity, how do you make a decision of what platform you're using to process your data and things like that?
It's a really good question because there's so many out there. Yeah, it's really good. I guess cost, and then working back from your problems that you want to solve rather than trying to get the software and then solve the problem. So if you're doing stuff like Sean, if you're doing asset inspections and there's specific softwares for assets, Transpect, Scan, Assetti. If you're doing more broad stuff like what we're doing, this is Drone Deploy that we've had a business subscription with Drone Deploy since I started. So yeah, working back from a problem rather than working your way up. Same with drone, same with hardware. Don't go buy a spray drone and then find stuff to spray. Find stuff to spray and find the drone or whatever you need to go and solve that problem.
Way to look at it.
Right on.
Cool. So I can talk to you a little bit more quickly, but we're probably running. What time was we?
Doesn't matter.
Talking to today?
have no time limit, no.
No time
limit.
Especially
cool,
when it's this juicy of content. It doesn't matter.
She's
It
juicy.
was only with
Juicy.
Isaac because he was eyeing for the hosting job. So
Yeah, we had to
Yeah.
cut him. He's
we had to
getting
cut him.
too comfy.
Yeah. He's yeah. Can't trust him. Did he tell you about the epic gift I gave him?
No.
Didn't he? All right, fair. No, I'll keep that. No, I just I bought him something to help him get through COVID.
Oh, right.
It was just some beers. You know, we were just
Oh,
chatting
so
about it.
nice.
And, felt bad for him.
We were out.
He's out in Wollongong too, isn't he?
Well,
yeah.
yeah. You know, all you're going to have to do is go back into lockdown and
Rather not. I'd
Yeah,
leave the present behind. I don't want that gift if I have to go back into lockdown.
not worth.
Not at all.
Yeah, cool. So here's a few more key projects that I put in the presentation. This was another case where they would have to literally cut in tracks from the top with a chainsaw and then abseil down and just do certain sections at a time. So
you're probably looking, what, 200-300 meters there in height?
Yeah, it is actually. Yep. And it's not a Tasmanian company that would quote to do this in the past. And it's in the tens of thousands to do it.
Yeah.
We did the whole thing in 3 days, and we hit two different species that are really bad across the state. So pampas and bone seed, and we can target each specific weed as we're going. So yeah, and that's pretty hectic, like flying in around trees and stuff like that. That's pretty hardcore, but yeah, another really good use case. This one was awesome as well.
Sorry, Andrew, just if you can just step back a little bit.
Yep.
I know you noticed there's obviously a road right there. Just curious, what type of precautions do you take? Obviously using fairly large drones to do the spraying.
Yep.
I can see there's a couple of buildings. Just trying to describe to the listeners here. So how do you go about some of the planning on this? To make sure you obviously don't have any incidents during. It's obviously high risk what you're doing, but much less high risk than someone actually abseiling to do the same thing. So how do you get around with the drone being in the air and you've got the 30-meter exclusion rules, and what are some of your risk mitigation that you go through for a job like this?
So I guess there's a few different layers. You've got the chemical application side of things is a layer in itself. So through that we've done certificates in weed management, chemical management through TAFE, and then we've got a sign off from the Department of Primary Industries to be able to apply chemicals from a drone, which I didn't really finish that story earlier on, but basically we spearheaded that, and we're the only company in Tassie that I know of. There might be some that have come in afterwards, but we developed and got that approved so we can apply chemicals from a drone. The only way of doing it beforehand was either from a helicopter or from the ground. So that was all that the license would develop for that. So that's the chemical side's ticked off, and it's like having a REOC, or it's like having a RePL. You've got these bounds that you need to operate within to do your job. So you can't fly within 30 meters of people if you get a RePL. You can't. It's the same with getting your chemical application license. You can't spray chemicals if the wind is blowing the other way back into public. You can't. You should have a windsock with you or an enometer or something, and measuring and monitoring where the wind's blowing. You can't have an inversion. It gets real deep. You can't have an inversion layer. So if there's no wind at all, you think, sweet, that's great spraying. That's good drone flying. If you have an inversion layer, then if you go through a town or a city and you see that there's no wind and the smoke just kind of sits there. So if you spray, your mist can just sit there, and then when the wind picks back up, it can blow. There's cases of it blowing for a long way. So anyway, so you're ticking off all those things through all your permits and licenses, and then when you're preparing to do a job, you're obviously contacting the client, you're contacting all of the neighbours, and then you're telling them all the things that you're doing, and then you're working back around. Like here, there's trucks coming in and out and crews and things like that. So we need to communicate with them where we can go and what we can do. So getting the client approval, landowner approval, adhering to all of your CASA guidelines and your chemical application guidelines, and then risk mitigation as far as crashing into stuff is a lot of hours and a lot of training.
Yeah, I think people don't realize the complexity of such a job. It's not just throwing the drone up there and flying and spraying. It's all of that preparation that you've just talked through is probably 75, 80% of the job, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big road. It's a long road, and I've seen a lot of spray contractors go out and buy drones, and they've sat in the shed for years. They've got the cash. We've consulted and helped other companies set up, like we was talking about, sharing knowledge. So I've been helping other companies set up drone divisions where we can. They've all got heaps of money, but money can't give you knowledge and time.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to, it's 80%, like what you said, Sean. It's a big road to get it up and running properly and do it right.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt, let you continue.
Yeah, so another good use case. This is a quarry. So most of these places, they're spraying and they're missing areas. So they'll go in where they can get to, and they'll spray like all around the periphery of this really dodgy area, and then all the weeds on that will germinate and spread. So they'd never been able to spray these benches ever, and it's quite a long story, but they'd had a crack with a drone with another company, and basically they sprayed like one weed and charged an arm and a leg. And we came in and we sprayed like the entire thing in half a day, and everyone's brains melted once again. So yeah, and here's another one. We sprayed this entire section here behind this power station for hydro. Literally no way to get onto that area. And we did all that in about a day as well. So pretty hectic. It's not, you can see the vehicles down there for size, but getting some big areas done. And there's a few videos and stuff in the presentation, but yeah, here's one of the prototype that we actually built in a week to get over the line. And there's the first one that we built.
So for the listeners, it's just a very large ag drone.
Yeah.
This is pre-DJI days, I presume.
Oh yeah, sorry. I haven't been describing anything and verbalizing what we're
it's
looking
not
at.
it's probably my job, but trying to describe what you're doing with the dimensions is quite interesting.
Yeah, sorry, listeners. I'm just showing them a photo of it's about a dinner table size hexacopter with made out of Bunnings materials that we've spray painted black to look legit.
And for those listeners that want to actually see it and can't see it, feel free to jump over from either Apple Podcasts or Spotify over to YouTube and actually watch the video, and you can actually see the images of this drone as well.
We'll clip it up,
cool.
for sure.
Spot on.
Actually, interesting design. Love it.
Yeah, so did we at the time, till I fell out of the sky.
So this is 2017, right? This is the one that you first
2017. Yep, this is 2017. Yeah, had no idea what I was doing.
I think you're doing a pretty good bloody job, man.
Yeah.
Well, Brady did the majority. So it was a good friend of mine who's an aeronautical engineer, and he did like this pot riveting stuff. And
who happens to live in Sheffield too. I mean,
yeah, who would have thought?
Aeronautical engineer just lying around.
Yeah,
We've all got one in our back pocket, don't we?
Yeah, went to school with him. Went to school with him too.
Oh, there you go.
My parents went through school. Our parents went through school too together.
Someone's going to make a Tasmanian joke soon.
Yeah.
No,
I'm ready.
Danny,
I'm ready.
no.
I'm
But
ready.
beyond that, we're civil.
We've gone this far without it.
I'm cool with it. I get it all the time. It's fine.
Nah, it's all right.
Yeah, so that's the spray side of things and the systems and some key use cases.
That's awesome.
So what's your go-to drone today? Like for ag type, if this keeping this sort of theme or use case, what are you using today? Have you got anything image-wise that you can show us?
Yep, that one there. So we've got a Agris MG1P. If the viewers want to Google the MG1Ps, There's newer models out that have really superseded them, and we've got the T20s, so the Dji T20. It's huge. It's 50 kilos. We haven't designed any booms or anything to come out of that drone yet.
Is that with the liquids in them, or that's...
with the liquid? Yeah,
Right.
with the liquid. So it's pretty big. Without the payload, the liquid would be like 25. No, yeah, 25. It would be. It's 20 litre tank.
What's the flight time on something like that, Andrew?
10 minutes. So you get about
Okay.
10 minutes operational time, which doesn't sound like much, but if you're from industry, you can do a lot in 10 minutes if you've got a pre-planned mission. If you're going out and you're flopping about and you're thinking, oh, I'll look at this and I'll do that. Like we already know, we'll be flying and scoping with a smaller drone, and then we'll come back and we're like, yep, going to hit that section. And so there's 10 minutes of that, 10 minutes with the bigger one. These are our workhorses. We've got 3 of these, 3 of the MG1Ps, because we don't want to crash or have anything go wrong or any electrical issues and not be able to finish the job.
Yep.
And other workhorses would be M600s and Mavic 2 Pros.
Yep.
We use Mavic 2 Pros quite a lot. We would have hundreds and hundreds of hours, I reckon, from photogrammetry to inspections to scoping, spotting. They're a good little workhorse.
Yeah.
And bad boys.
I think a lot of people underestimate those types of drones and how handy they are. It's you don't have to have the biggest and best things. It's usually the most common things are the best tool to have.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, don't get lost.
Yeah,
with the yep.
Sorry, Andrew. I'm sorry, Brendan. I was going to ask, what are you doing mapping with? Like the ones that we just sharing.
M300 with a P1.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. But that's, we are still using, we've got 2 Phantom 4s, 2 Mavic 2s, 2 M300s, 2 M600s, 3 MG1Ps, 1 T20, 1 Mavic 1, and a Phantom. That's it. I think that's what. 2 Telos.
Casa must be loving you, mate. Sending the
A lot of birds.
drone renewal fees.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
But the first year was free.
I just paid for 3 that came up, so that's fun. So
So the M300s for the mapping, and we're also doing thermal trials with test parks at the moment. And I don't like talking about things before we do them because I don't want to jinx myself too much. But we're going to be trialing burning stuff with drones in the next couple of months as well. So
we'll save that.
Sounds like up my alley.
Yes,
I would.
We'll save that for the next.
Who wants to burn stuff?
I want to come to Tassie and burn shit with a drone. Let's go.
Need footage of this.
Let's do it. That's pretty much how I got this whole trial set up.
Through footage, Danny. I want to do it. I don't want to sit there and see. I want to do it.
Pretty much how I got to this point. I just said to somebody, I was like, can we just burn stuff with a drone? Like, yep, let's do it. Let's do it.
Was that over a couple of beers as well, or?
It actually was. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We're all great things start.
Yeah, all the best decisions start over a beer and a hold my beer conversation.
Hold my beer. We're going to go burn some stuff.
And what could go wrong when you're talking about burning shit and having a drink?
That's right.
Nothing
at all.
No. There's not millions of hours of footage on the internet of people
Exactly.
burning and drowning and
Nah, not at all.
Cool. All right. Well, something we haven't shared with you. Is there any other questions we want to fire away to Andrew?
No, I think this has been awesome.
I'm pretty blown away already.
Yeah.
I think there'll be time for a second episode. Absolutely.
Yeah,
especially when you've got that burning fire shit. So
definitely. Season 2.
have to figure out what you're actually burning and whatever. But no, it's been unreal.
now I just want to come up with some silly ideas of what we can put onto a drone and make it work. You're making my mind tick over. I didn't think we could burn shit with a drone. Now I'm thinking of all the fun stuff I could potentially do with a drone.
That's all I can ask for. You know, I love inspiring people if that's what you could call it. You know, like if you can
Keep
take one
keep an eye on
wacky
the news
idea.
next week. Ty's going to be on the news next week doing some stupid shit. For sure.
There's like a machete under the drone or something.
Good way to
Now,
go.
that sounds fun.
Roman
So-
candles, anybody? We'll also those videos.
Maybe you should share the was it the bird one we had a conversation a few months ago, when your innovation around scaring birds away.
Oh, righto, yeah. So we've been back actually since then. So we had a job. So using this drone. So the drone that you can see, sorry for the viewers that are in the podcast, but I'm just showing a photo of the custom drone that we built to drop. These are the tripod payloads that I was talking about, these metal payloads with the prism on the front of them.
Mhm.
So you can see that it's one of the ag drones. We've put the RTK on it and dropping mechanism underneath it. And we've stabilized it with a bit of carbon fiber there to stop it from moving around. So we used this drone, we took that thing out from underneath it and we put a bird sound, like a hunting bird sound speaker underneath it. And we downloaded a peregrine falcon and we went to Mitre 10 in Launceston because the GM of Mitre 10, awesome guy, Paul, called me up and he's like, "Is this Andrew Davies?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "Look, I don't care, mate. What you need to do, can you please come down and get these seagulls off the roof?" So they can't, just to do a non-invasive way, you know, like they're shooting them and poisoning and crushing eggs and all those things, but they wanted to try something different. So we put that under the drone and we spent literally a whole day out there just dive bombing them with this big drone with a speaker under it. And they never came back until this season. But
Wow.
we missed the window of getting them before they laid nests this season. So we've been back and scared them and the majority of them left, but there was some that stayed there. So if anyone's going to get into the business of scaring seagulls with drones, and take that as a bit of knowledge, get in there before they lay their nests.
We thought magpie season was bad, let alone your dive bombing seagulls.
Yeah. It's one of those days where I'm just standing there like, what the hell has my life become? This is awesome. It's like, and a lot of the stuff we do, it's like, you couldn't, if you went up to and asked somebody, "Hey, would you like me to come and do this?" I'd be like, "That's ridiculous." But if it's the other way around, they ask you, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like scaring seagulls, burning things. We calibrated a radar. We hung this freaking 30-meter long line under a drone with a ball on the end of it, and calibrated a radar on one of the wind farms that was set up to shut down the turbines when birds of prey are flying near the turbines. So they needed to simulate a large bird of prey. So we had to launch up above the radar and fly out like flat stick at a certain degree. So we had to do like one at 270, one at 40. And there's another day, I'm like, what am I doing? This is crazy. We've got like the team in Holland on a live stream, like, and someone holding a laptop there in my face, and they're like, "Yep, that's good. Yes, fly up that." Great. I can't believe we're actually like flying a ball under a drone and doing something.
It's a niche within the niche within the niche again.
Yeah, that's it. And
everyone go out, find that niche.
Find that niche. Like, radars need calibrating, man.
All right,
That's awesome. Love it.
Yeah. So awesome. So that's that one, and that's the seagulls. And yeah, I guess if we had another podcast, we could just go through all of the wacky things that we've.
I'm sure we'll do.
Yes, definitely something we should do in the future.
Yeah,
weird and wonderful.
Crashes.
I'm sure you'll be back again, mate. So I wouldn't worry too much. You'll have your chance.
Crashes would be a good one too.
Ooh,
that'd be a good one.
Actually, my wife was talking about some of my crashes this evening earlier, asking if I had them on video for the little section that we do normally in our podcast. And I think I'm gonna have to dig a few of them up.
Throw yourself under the bus, Ty.
So I've got
well, look, we've all been there. And might as well show some of the entertaining things that have happened when I've been there.
Yeah.
Vulnerability. First first step to
That's
open
it.
up and help
Yeah.
people, isn't it?
That's right.
That's it.
100%.
It's fact, and it's the statistics are pretty high, I reckon.
Mm.
I reckon,
Definitely.
yeah. I've got a folder where I'm putting all of the footage from my crashes, and I've got that time horizon where I'm just letting them digest, and then I'll give it a year, and I'm like, okay, I'll talk about that now. I'm over it.
I can laugh about that now.
I can joke about that. Yeah, and like you were saying before, Brendan, you know how you said share, but obviously you can't share everything. I think the things that really pull me up on that is like I would share everything, but it's normally my clients that I can't share everything on. So this, you know, we built this novel product for a client. So, you know, I couldn't go through like all of the data from their site and all the stuff they shared with us and how we've planned everything. I would if I could, but it's not my place to be. So I guess if people are asking questions and wanting to learn more, and then they kind of get shut down a little bit by stuff, it's not rejection. It's just you just literally can't. They just can't give you all the information in a lot of cases, even if they wanted to.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, you know, make you sign non-disclosure agreements for that purpose. Some people will see their sites as extremely sensitive, and anything you do or for them needs to be between you and your client, and no one else's ears or eyes. So, yeah, like you said, there's a limit of information that you can explain to people, but it can't be the full thing if it's something very niche like the stuff you're sort of talking about as well. So. Yeah, like you said, it's not rejection. It's just you're tied up.
You're tied up.
Yeah.
And that's when they could hassle you and be like, hey, can I come and work with you? You know, because they just keep hassling.
Yep.
That's Jorge, my first guy I hired. I was like, head on the table, work to the bone. And I remember I said to my nan, I was like, man, I could use some help. And then the next morning I was scrambling some eggs, and Jorge called up and he goes, hello, is this Andrew? I said, yes. He goes, I want to help. I was like, okay, cool. You're on.
That's awesome.
Showed some initiative. That's it.
Yeah, I want to help. He just said, I want to help. He didn't care. He actually was scraping stickers off a car for me when he first started, like his first day. So he came and helped wherever he could. I said, you can come and be an assistant on the next drone training course at the end of the month. He came up, he assisted. And then I was on the Sunday when we finished, I said, so you're going back to Hobart? You want to leave a bit early? He goes, nope, I live in Devonport now. So he'd moved to Hobart to Devonport. I'm like, oh, shit, better come to work tomorrow then.
That's awesome.
What an awesome.
Have an open mind and be willing to have a crack.
Yeah.
I love his energy. He's like a little, he's always excited. Energizer battery is the word that I was trying to think of. So
yeah, ever ready.
Ever ready. That's it.
Yeah. Good nickname for him.
All right, man. We got this is kind of a surprise segment for you we didn't tell you about.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So it's what we call 6 in 60. So you're going to basically get asked 6 questions and you got 60 seconds to answer.
Let's go.
Someone's got a timer?
I'll shut down my
Thanks, brother.
My screen share. There we go. Let's go.
You ready? And go.
What's your favorite drone?
The M600.
Cool. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Cool. What's your favorite ice cream?
Coconut ice cream.
Ooh,
interesting.
Wow. Okay. What's your favorite car?
Tesla. Indisputably. A Y when they come out in January next year, hopefully.
Okay.
Oh, the Roadster.
This is for Ty. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Good man.
Yeah.
Final one. This is a tricky one. Who's your favorite host?
10 seconds to go.
TikTok. Can I milk the clock?
5, 4,
Oh, that's running.
3, 2,
Time.
1.
Oh, he's been named.
We finally got someone.
Someone next.
Yes.
Everyone's
Gonna-
dodged it. Everyone's
Yes.
dodged that question.
Do you want to know
on
how
the dot.
I'm still going to dodge it though. You want to know how I dodged it?
Why?
The beard.
Oh,
There we
Well
go.
played. Well played.
I went with the biggest, longest beard.
I don't care.
Yeah,
how
Brendan,
I
wipe
do
that
it,
chair
I
away,
just
man.
won.
yeah. I was gonna say I was
Officially-
definitely not in the vote for that
officially
one.
the
So
first person to be named, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy about that.
Everyone else has dodged the question somehow.
Have they?
Well,
Oh.
Yeah, Derek's got to go in that guy.
yeah,
And
Derek,
everyone's got a different
Oh,
screen.
was it our
Everyone's
guy,
got
guy on
someone
the right or
different.
something?
yeah.
What did Isaac say?
He said him.
He said everyone.
himself.
No, he said everyone.
All right.
Did he?
He was like
Okay.
everyone was a good one. And then I think he flipped to himself, of course.
That's when he offered himself the hosting.
Yeah.
Which wasn't on offer, but anyway,
No,
he made
yeah.
an offer.
Damn. I feel like I lost
Awesome.
some points of charisma there. Being the
No, it's
first
very
one.
good. It's very good.
That was
no,
good.
no, you,
That's what we
you
want.
fit number one in my book.
Old and tie.
So there it
Yeah,
is,
that's
mate.
awesome.
6 and 60. Andrew, thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know you're very busy, and we're really inspired to have you on and really being so transparent with us. And I hope lots of listeners and people watching the YouTube will get some value out of this. That's really, as we've pointed out, that's the whole purpose of this. So no, really appreciate you being that open.
I really appreciate you guys having me on and listening to my story as well and being interested. And I'd love to.
It's an interesting story, mate.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'd really love to have the tables flipped at some point as well. I'd love to hear more about your journeys and where you've got come from and to. So if there's ever any podcasts or anything where you guys are, focusing on yourselves a bit, I know you don't want to as hosts, but would love to learn more about you all too. So yeah, thanks heaps.
No worries, man.
And
Thanks,
We'll
man.
have to get you to be part of the Drones Down Under event that we've got next year. So look, we don't know where it is, what it is, what's happening.
Whatever state
but
will let us all in.
It's
Probably-
going to happen sometime
probably-
next year, we reckon.
Yeah.
Probably in Tasmania around May, around a certain drone summit or something like.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You're the only one who's run the event, so
Yeah.
you got.
It might tie in well. Yeah, I'll be there, man. I'm definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're all really lovely people, and anything I can ever do to help and support you. And same to the viewers and the listeners. Thanks for listening. If you've made it all the way through, and I'm always, we're perceived very busy. We are very busy. I've always got time to take a call and have a chat and help out.
So on
Right
that,
on.
if people want to reach you, what's your best contact details, email address wise?
So my email address is andrew@tazdronesolutions.com, and that's a Taz with a Z. If you Google Taz Drone Solutions, you can go straight through the site and you can inquire through there. You're not going to get down a hole of nothingness. It'll come straight up and I'll see it, or one of the guys will see it and they'll let me know. So you can inquire through there.
And the website as well.
And through the website, you can inquire through there, and either social media too. You can send a message through there.
Go follow the guys. You're always on Facebook with your live stream, which is awesome because you get to see really large drones and how you're actually working on real jobs, which is pretty cool. So yeah, go follow the guys.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you
Awesome.
again. Until next
Thanks,
time.
Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, guys. Awesome to meet you guys.
Cheers.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Peace.